All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about TJ Watt and him just kind of talking about his future, talking about retirement. Now when I say that, that does not mean that he's retiring, after this year, but he just, had some recent comments about it, and I just wanted to get into it and kind of, just give my thoughts on it. So, this is what he had to say, and this is via The Athletic. He said, "For me, it's all about no playoff wins. I'm trying to do anything I can do. We have so much turnover year to year and so many new guys that is trying to learn as much as possible coming from guys from other organizations that have done it and won championships since being in the league. I'm going to do whatever is possible to win. It's about not taking any day for granted, and when it comes down to executing and working, putting everything aside and getting it done." He also said, "I don't know if I want to play forever, but who knows? It's hard to say." JJ always said he didn't want to play super long. Then things happened and he ended up playing longer. I won't know until that moment comes. I feel great right now, so I'm kind of just living in the moment. I don't have forever to play. I have always approached the game as right now, and I've never taken it for granted, and that hasn't changed at all. So, yeah, I mean, I like what he said a lot. He does put things into perspective. I mean, he's not going to be around forever. And I think you kind of just play it by ear, and, how you're feeling. Because, yeah, I mean, this game does take a lot out of you. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that, I know exactly what players are going through. But, I mean, you could definitely tell. I mean, the wear and tear. I mean, I talked about Travis Kelce and him, talking about retirement, and having similar comments to this, where it's like, yeah, just gonna, keep playing and, see what happens. He's like, what did Travis Kelce said? He said, bring on the wear and tear. Yeah, I mean, the game's gonna do that to you, and at some point, the wear and tear is gonna be too much, or, you can't, you know, do what you're accustomed to doing. You can't play at a high level, and yeah, eventually you're gonna call it quits. You don't decide when you're done. It's Father Time does. Father Time is undefeated, as cliche as that sounds, because how many times do you hear that? But yeah, I mean, the guys we're seeing now are not going to play forever. And when I was younger, watching guys like Peyton Manning and and of course, I mean Tom Brady. It's weird not seeing him play now, and now him presenting the MVP to the winner of the UFL championship, because that was yesterday. I think the Birmingham Stallions took that, so it was weird just seeing him present the MVP trophy to the winning team there. But yeah, you just thought like these guys are going to play forever, and then as you get older, and these guys start to retire. I mean, you see that. You see that in football, in baseball. The guys that I grew up watching. Basketball. I mean, most of the guys that I've seen growing up, like they're still playing. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, like all those guys, like that core is still like around. But yeah, LeBron's gonna be 40. He's talking about retirement. He's eventually gonna retire. So like that group is eventually gonna be out. So it's really weird because you just think like these guys are gonna play forever when they're really not. And TJ Watt has been a great player since he's come into the league. He's been in the league since 2017, and he's a guy that could just take over a game. And it's just unfortunate that the Steelers, and I've said this many times, just how long it's been. I mean, I saw a TikTok video of what the Steelers have done in the playoffs. The last few times that they've been there. It all goes back to when they lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game back in, the 2016-2017 season. Then they lost to Blake Bortles and the Jaguars. Missed the playoffs for a couple years. They lost to the Browns. They lost to the Chiefs. And then most recently they lost to the Bills. And, it's like, when is that day going to come when this team is going to make the playoffs? I mean, TJ Watt, he did score a defensive touchdown in the playoffs against the Chiefs, and that put them up 7-0. And he thought, okay, maybe let's see what the Steelers could do here. But nothing happened after that. The Chiefs took over that game. Because I was going to say, it's unfortunate that TJ Watt, he can only do so much because he plays defense. But, I mean, he could take over a game. I mean, he is more than just one defensive touchdown. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He's arguably the best defensive player in the game. But, again, you can only do so much. You need your offense to, start putting up points here. But yeah, it's just, I mean, he puts things into perspective. I mean, J.J. Watt, he recently retired. What has it been now? I think this was, what was this? Was this J.J.'s second? This was 2023. Was his, no, actually, because when did he retire? He retired at the end of 22, I think, right? Because I know his last, yeah, that sounds about right, I think. So, yeah, I mean, it was J.J. Watt's first full year, retired. And eventually it's going to get to that point when, TJ's going to call it quits. And, but he said, I mean, he feels great. I know he has dealt with a lot of injuries, and, you worry about that. That continues to stack up. And, we had a similar topic about this with Joe Burrow, because he talked about, just dealing with injuries constantly, and how, talking about his football mortality. Eventually, it's like, getting hurt, rehab, work yourself back. Yeah, that's eventually going to, wear on you. And yeah, it's just at some point you're going to say, yeah, this is too much for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you call it quits. And we hope that's not the case for Burrow. But yeah, TJ Watt's dealt with a lot of injuries too. But it doesn't seem like, I mean, at least like, at least the article I had, it didn't seem like, he was of that mindset. Like, yeah, I get hurt a lot, but, he didn't really talk about that. But yeah, I mean, eventually when he does retire, yeah, it's gonna be a sad day, because yeah, he's been a great player, but he's still got some time to go, and he's still in the prime of his career, so. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to worry about that for a while. But, yeah, I mean, when you see players start talking about retirement, like they're more towards the end than they are to the beginning. Now, some people are more towards the end than others. I mean, I think TJ Watt still has some time to go. Like, when we talked about Travis Kelce, like, Travis Kelce is closer to the end. TJ Watt, I feel like, is in, like, the middle. Because, like I said, he's still, like, in the prime of his career. Like, he could go out there and he could break the sacks record. I mean, he's tied with Michael Strahan right now, but he could go out there and he could have, 23, 24 sacks. And, that would be a defensive player of the year for him, which many people thought he was going to get, and Myles Garrett ended up getting it. But he's still going to have more. He's going to still have opportunities to win that. So, but. Yeah, that was just something. This was just something I wanted to talk about. Because again, it's just more. It's because we talked about this with Burrow. We talked about this with Kelce. T.J. Watt, another player. I mean, Burrow didn't really talk about retirement. He just talked about like, hey, I've been hurt a lot. Like, Kelce brought up retirement. But yeah, I mean, it's just a reminder that. These athletes that we're watching right now, they're not going to be around forever. So you just got to enjoy it while it lasts and live in the moment and not think about the future and just let it ride, because eventually when these guys all retire, there's going to be a new group that comes in and takes their place, and there'll be players that we like from that group, and then it's a cycle. But yeah, we just gotta live in the moment, just enjoy, TJ Watt and him playing, of course, and all the guys that are playing right now, across all sports, because at some point, yeah, they're gonna call it a career, and you're not gonna be able to watch them play every day. But yeah, that's really my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think about what TJ Watt had to say. What kind of season do you think he's going to have? I mean, listen, it's TJ Watt. Like I said, still in the prime of his career. I think we're going to expect big things out of him in the Steelers' defense. It's up to the offense. Let's see what that offense can do now with the new quarterbacks they got. So now we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we're going to talk about Sauce Gardner defending Aaron Rodgers, something he tweeted out. And just more talk on Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp. So we'll get into all that when we come back from our final break of the show. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.